Here's what's coming into view on Elevating Denver for August 2022. It's the 10th anniversary of Denver Days, and we take a look at how this event unites the city.
The city really does believe that Denver Days helps to build this community and to bring folks together, and that's really important to the vision of what the city is.
To honor Colorado Day, we spoke with the state historian about including everyone in our history books.
The goal should be to come up with a more inclusive, more accurate, more true sense of our history.
Plus, we take a look inside Denver's e-bike rebate program.
We decided to invest money in the e-bike program because e-bikes are incredible. They have so much potential to reduce emissions and replace vehicle trips.
All that and more this month on Elevating Denver.
Denver Days is a week-long celebration to celebrate the spirit of the Mile High City. It's a time for neighbors to come together and get to know one another. It's a very nice opportunity to get to know someone. You might find your new best friend just living right down the street. Someone that you can call on to say, hey, I'm stuck in traffic, can you let my dog out? Someone to say, I'm running to the store, do you need anything? These are the kind of neighborly reactions and relationships that we would like to foster through Denver Days. Someone to say, I've seen your car parked there for 4 days, or is everything okay? I think it makes the community safer, I think it makes it more clean, and I think it makes it fun. If you're registered as a Denver Days event, you actually get your barricades complimentary. You don't have to pay for a permit fee, you don't have to pay for insurance. So it's just a time for neighbors to get to know one another.
I'm campaigning in Park Hill, and I'm brought into a house owned by a lady named Miss Bird. She's an older lady at the time, probably close to 80 years old, but very vibrant and very clear in terms of what her passions were. And she shared a story with me that she had lived on the block for over 40 years and that she was now alone. And feeling not as safe as she used to feel, she wanted to get to know her neighbors. And so she got with some of the young neighbors and they came up with an idea. Let's do a block party. Let's get everyone out of their houses. Let's get to know each other. And what they shared with me was how difficult it was to get permits. And then came the requirement for insurance. And somebody would have had to put their house up, quite frankly, or put on their homeowner's insurance in order to host this block party. And the requirement for barricades was just financially not very feasible for everybody on the block. And so they chose not to do it, and much to Miss Birch's dismay, they were not able to pull their neighbors together and allow her an opportunity to get to know her neighbors. And so that story really bothered me. And I remember finishing the campaign, ultimately becoming mayor, and in one of the first meetings with the staff, I said, we've got to find a way to encourage our neighbors to get together. And what if we do this by celebrating Denver, celebrating what it means to be a neighbor, bringing people together. Let's help them do block parties. Let's help them do service projects, a big barbecue, whatever they want to do. Let's get the barriers out of the way. And that became Denver Days.
So it really does take a team to get this accomplished, but the lead comes from human rights and community partnerships. We bring together multiple city departments to make sure that we have our permits in a row, that everyone who has requested time in the park get their permits waived. There have been multiple departments. There's a team of about 20 of us that come together for probably the last 6 months to try to get this all planned and worked out. The city really does believe that Denver Days helps to build this community and to bring folks together, and that's really important to the vision of what the city is.
Denver was founded when our community came together to make sure that the Continental Railroad didn't bypass us. They trenched, they laid rail, and they worked their tails off to create this great city we call home today. I've seen it evolve, and it's very unique type of projects, very unique type of events in the life of communities. And I think the people who really benefit are the children. I've enjoyed going from event to eat and enjoy that, but I really love showing up and seeing the kids truly enjoy themselves.
My most favorite experience was in 2020 when the pandemic happened. We weren't encouraging folks to get together, obviously, and so the team really had to pivot and make something fun for the community to where they still were able to come together in a socially distant, safe space. And so what the city did was they created parades. And so parades went through every council district. We had people on balconies, people on rooftops, we had people come out and sit on the street, and I think it really gave a lot of hope to the community that things would get better. But we were months and months into the pandemic at that point, and so it was nice to have a moment of levity, I think, from the doom and gloom of kind of the pandemic. So that was one of my favorite things. But I do try to get out to as many events as possible. I love to go to the block parties. They're super fun. The neighbors get really creative with what they're doing. They have face painting, bounce houses. There was a tiki bar that one neighbor kind of rolled out into the middle of the street last year. So it was a fun experience, and it's nice to see folks getting back together and smiling again with each other.
One of the things that we wanted to see happen was this became a normal annual event in the life of our city. And so we didn't just do it because the mayor's office wanted to organize it through an executive order. We actually passed an ordinance that commemorates Denver Days. This is a day, this is a weekend where we celebrate our heritage as a city. Let's celebrate getting to know our neighbors, but let's also honor our heritage and our past and those men and women who helped to make sure this city was established and become the great city that it is. And that's what we hope to have celebrated and emulated every year during Denver Days. So my hope is that it continues on as vibrantly and as robust as it has while I've been there.
Denver's e-bike rebate program is a hit, so much so that demand for it crashed the website back in July. But what even is an e-bike? How do I get a voucher? And what e-bike options are there? We spoke to the experts for the answers.
E-bikes are going to be a bicycle with a motor attached to it. They're typically going to be a pedal assist, so they only are going to use the motor when you're actually riding the bike. So it makes you get where you're going a lot faster with a lot less sweat, a lot less work potentially, or you can work just as hard and cover twice the distance. So it's really fun for fitness, for getting around town. It's just really nice. You can get to work without being sweaty in the middle of the summer.
We decided to invest money in the e-bike program because e-bikes are incredible. They have so much potential to reduce emissions and replace vehicle trips. Their e-bikes are about 10 to 20 times more efficient than a vehicle. They also save people money. You can buy a gallon of gasoline today for $4.50, but you can travel that same distance on an e-bike for about 5 cents. E-bikes reduce emissions by about 10 to 20 times compared to driving a vehicle. So the city has pretty aggressive goals around reducing greenhouse gas emissions. We want to reduce them by 65% by 2030, and transportation is the second largest source of emissions in the city. So every time someone is able to replace a car or vehicle trip with an e-bike, they're having a significant impact on their individual transportation emissions. E-bike program is funded through the Climate Protection Fund, which was a sales tax measure passed by Denver voters in 2020. The best place to get information on how the program works is to go to denvergov.org/ebike, and that has all the information about when vouchers are available. Right now, they're being made available on a monthly basis, and you can also sign up on that website to get notifications and updates about when the vouchers are available. They'll be available every month through the end of the year. There's a standard voucher that is $400, and everyone can receive this voucher. Then there's a voucher that is $1,200, and that's for income-qualified Denver residents. There's also an additional $500 voucher add or on for an e-cargo bike, which can replace even more types of vehicle trips.
Yes, there's going to be a lot of different e-bike options. It can be a little overwhelming at first. The biggest thing that you're going to run into is that there are 3 different categories of e-bikes. And they all have a little different legality on where you can ride them, as well as just different experiences when you're riding them. And this is going to be a Class 2 e-bike, meaning that it has a pedal assist on the motor. It also has a hand throttle that you can twist once you're moving, so you don't have to pedal if you don't want to. This is going to be one of our cheapest e-bikes, coming in at about $999, which for the income qualified residents makes it almost free. With the income qualified e-bike rebate, it's $1,200. So that fully covers the cost of this bike, and then you'll only be responsible for the $88 sales tax. This is going to be one of the few Class 3 e-bikes that we have in store. A Class 3 e-bike is going to be pedal assist only, no throttle. with a cutoff speed of 28 miles an hour. These higher speeds make it really good for long distance commuting, but you do need to be careful because you can't ride a Class 3 e-bike on any of the bike paths in town. You have to stick to pavement and bike lanes. This bike is going to cost $3,300. And it'll give you about a 30-mile range if you're really cranking it at 28 miles an hour, about 60 to 80 miles if you're keeping it a little bit slower. So what we have here is going to be a Class 1 electric cargo bike. Class 1 meaning it's going to be pedal assist only, up to a 20-mile-an-hour top speed. And then it's going to be a cargo bike, which means it's rated to carry a lot of additional weight. This one's outfitted with panniers and a front rack, and it can carry about 300 pounds on here. So this bike starts at about $4,100 before putting all of the accessories on. It's a pretty high-end e-bike. It's a pretty high-end cargo bike.
Due to the popularity of the program, applications are only available on the first of every month and are only open to Denver residents. Here's what to do. Go to denverclimaterebates.com and create an account. You'll be issued a verification code in your email. It may take up to 10 minutes for the code to arrive, so be patient. Once you're verified, fill out the application with your name, address, and contact info. At this time, you must provide proof of residency as well as proof that you meet the income qualified requirement, such as SNAP or enrollment in Medicaid. Your application will be processed within 10 days, and then you have 60 days to redeem your voucher. The applications only stay open as long as supplies last, and if you don't get a voucher this month, try again each month through the end of the year. So turn that car trip into a bike trip, and we'll see you on the trails, Denver. You may have seen them out and about in our public spaces. Donning brightly colored shirts, the employees of Consolidated Services Group, or CSG, are tasked with cleaning our public spaces along the 16th Street Mall, the Welton Street Corridor, and others.
We're an outdoor maintenance company, so we take care of cleaning outdoor spaces, whether that's a public space, whether that's a park. Downtown Denver is our biggest client, where we do the 16th Street Mall and the 124 square blocks surrounding it.
Many of these individuals are in transitional housing, are currently experiencing homelessness, or have been recently released from incarceration.
We are a fair chance provider, which means we take little to account into what the employee did prior, what their work experience was, and that they need a job.
These individuals are opening up doors to the communities they serve in their daily work for CSG. But they're also seeing doors open in their daily lives. For Margarita Campos, her employment through CSG gave her a steady income and a chance for stability for herself and her children.
Well, before I worked with CSG, I was really having a hard time. I was homeless. It was really hard to get on my feet and get stable. It was just so hard to where that sometimes it could tear you down to want to not even do nothing. Worked with CSG, it gives me opportunities for my housing as well, to pay my rent, to pay my bills, to take care of my kiddos and make sure they have a roof over their head. It gave me a strong foundation to feel safe, to move forward and proceed forward and do your best as you can.
Margarita is not alone. CSG currently employs around 65 individuals across the city. CSG works with each individual employee to ensure their work environment works for them, setting them up for long-term success. Margarita was able to get a work schedule that allowed her time to take care of her kids.
It feels amazing that you could find people that are willing to help you succeed and overcome these tests of life that we get. So I think it's amazing.
There are also advancement opportunities that are available for the workers, including leadership positions.
Within CSG, we have a special projects team in which they learn specialized skills, painting, welding.
After a month, I was promoted to the RTW, which is the Ready to Work program. And then after a month of doing that, we got contracted through this program, the Denver Action Team, and that's when they promoted me to team leader, and that's where I'm at now.
CSG works with many partners across the city. The Denver Action Team is a joint effort between CSG, the Downtown Denver Partnership, and the City and County of Denver that focuses its efforts on the Golden Triangle, Curtis Park, and Union Station. Another of these partnerships is with Denver Housing Authority, which is how Margarita found her way to the company.
So I began helping Margarita. She came to our office to ask about getting job search assistance, and she was a walk-in, so she came into my office and we discussed what she was looking for in employment, and I found CSG. I contacted Margarita and she came and interviewed with CSG 2 days later, and that same day she was hired on as part-time worker with CSG.
But working at CSG goes beyond the paycheck. It's a chance to reconnect with their community.
Well, the rate of pay is pretty nice too. Better than being minimum wage. You know, you can start off somewhere that isn't at the bottom necessarily. Even if you need a second chance, our company does the second chance program to say, hey, we'll give you a little bit of trust. My crewmates are always in a positive mood. They're always like, yeah, let's go out and get this. And so by the time we're done with work today, we'll see the difference we've made in the city. You know, you could drive down the blocks that we went and cleaned and see, wow, that looks 110% better than it did this morning.
It's amazing. I have tons of people telling me thank you and appreciating of what I do. It's a good feeling.
And it's a step towards permanent stability.
A lot of people have a lot of backgrounds that they've done a lot of things in their life to where it took a lot of their opportunities. This is like an opportunity that they can have a second chance of knowing they can get through this. It's an opportunity that I never thought I could ever have because I didn't know sources or where to go or how to do things. I think this would help people kind of find their way to get the sources that they need so they won't have to strive as much as I did. That they could succeed no matter what obstacle comes in your way. And I think it would be a lot of help for these people to really know there is all these things out here for you guys. You know, it's just to ask and get the sources so y'all could get what y'all need.
History is so important to us as a people, as a society. Without history, we don't understand ourselves. We don't understand how we got here. We don't understand the context that we're living in. And I would say that history, studying our history, everybody else's history, starting a broader version of history, helps us to understand one another across differences too. And that enables conversations, and with that understanding eventually comes empathy. My name is Nikki Gonzalez, and I am a professor of history and vice provost for diversity and inclusion here at Regis University. So I was born and raised here in Denver. My family has very deep roots in southern Colorado and northern New Mexico. So as a grade school student, about 4th grade, I remember a set of books about indigenous leaders like Crazy Horse and Geronimo and Sitting Bull and Red Cloud. I read the whole series, and so I would say that as a 4th grader, that transported me back to the 19th century American West, and that just really triggered my imagination. And then I have had a grandfather who was very interested in history, self-taught. He read all the time, and it was literally the conversations that he had with my dad that I listened to while growing up that really intrigued me, and I mean, I was hooked. There was no way that I wasn't going to be interested in history. So my term as state historian will end on Monday, August 1st, and that's when the torch, I guess, or book, or whatever the item is, will be handed over to Dr. Jared Orsi of Colorado State University. I serve on the State Historians Council with him, so even though my term will be over, I'll still serve on the council for about another 5 years on what History Colorado has called the State Historians Council. The board of History Colorado got together and came up with an idea, and I think it was like, you know, the first in the nation to not only have a state historian, but a council of state historians who represented different geographical parts of the state. We represent different communities, we represent different academic expertise areas, and so it's a real kind of fruitful forum to exchange ideas and to support one another, and it's been a thrill to be part of that. A lot of people don't know that Colorado has had state historians since 1924. I would say as the first Latina or Latino person appointed to the role, I think my experience might have been a little bit different. And so one of the great joys of being in this position has been, answering phone calls and emails and text messages and visits from people all over the state, really, from the Latino communities who just wanted to share their story. And they felt that they could share it with me and that I provided some validation for their story. So I would say that by far has been the overwhelming biggest joy of being in this position. So I had two priorities coming into my role as state historian. One has been to promote diverse stories throughout the state, and the other was to really promote involving youth in history. Because I believe that when young people know their history, it empowers them, it gives them an identity. And adolescence is this time when, young people are trying to figure out an identity. And knowing your history, I think, grounds them in ways that are really helpful for them to kind of navigate that period of their lives and really the rest of their lives. There's a real push today, particularly after the murder of George Floyd, when we have entered this period of racial reckoning where we are looking at the past with a more critical lens, a more inclusive lens. And in response to that progressive push forward, there's also been a backlash against that. And that's nothing new in American history. Whenever there's steps forward, there's always a push back. And that comes out of a desire to control how history is talked about, especially how it's being presented to children, in order to push a certain agenda or to squash certain difficult topics of our history so that we don't have to face them, or out of fear certain people want to stifle that more inclusive study of history, when our goal should be to come up with a more inclusive, more accurate, more true sense of our history, because then we can begin to face those uncomfortable facts and begin to understand each other. And out of that understanding, as I've said, comes an empathy for one another. Residents of Colorado should take away that Colorado history is diverse. There is no single narrative, there's no single story that defines Colorado history. Rather, it is a mix of all stories and an interaction of those stories. And when I teach it, I teach my students history in general is like a puzzle, and there are different pieces to that puzzle, and it doesn't give us a full picture of that puzzle until we have all the pieces. And so we're still in the process of collecting those different pieces, and historians are always trying to get closer to the truth of what happened in the past. And I would say, Colorado history is a process, and people should engage in it as much as they can.
August 12th is National Vinyl Record Day, a day to honor the art behind the music, collecting, and recording. Twist and Shout owner Patrick Brown took time to share his passion for the store, records, and to speak about the shopping trends he sees from Denver residents.
I grew up here in Denver. From first grade on, went to DPS the whole time. Once I graduated, I went to NYU Film and Television. As soon as I moved back, I got some menial jobs, and then I started working at Twist and Shout in June of 1992, and I have worked there ever since. And I purchased the store from the previous owners, Paul and Jill Epstein, in March of this year. Paul and Jill were school teachers at Smoky Hill High, both English teachers, and they decided they wanted to do something else, and they purchased the former Underground Records, which dates back to the 60s, and they opened Twist and Shout in a much smaller space on South Pearl Street. And in '95, we moved to a much larger space on Alameda and Logan and opened a satellite store just for vinyl. And then we kind of outgrew that space. And in 2006, we moved here to Colfax and brought everything under one roof, and things have just kept going, In terms of the longevity of the store, one of the things that's been the hallmark of what we do is just stay on top of the trends in the market and having a really diverse cross-section of what people are interested in, as long as it's, music-centric and pop culture-centric, the things that bring people down to a record store. A lot of people have this misconception that vinyl went away, and it never really did. It just moved, it's shifted the demographic the same way Twist and Shout has. You know, it used to be everybody bought vinyl, CDs came on, and that's right where Twist and Shout started, is when CDs were rising. So that was our primary thing, and we had vinyl squirreled away in bins underneath our CD racks. But by 2010, vinyl was starting to really rise and be a significant part of our sales here. And it ended up eclipsing CDs as they fell off and people started moving to streaming. But people who wanted a physical thing to put their hands on and a physical experience, you know, really have just favored vinyl. And that demographic has shifted, you know, from the older collectors to the DJs to kind of everybody. And, you know, a lot of people want to attribute that to nostalgia, but that's not it. There are people buying older collectible records that they remember from their youth, and they beat up their copy, so they want a cleaner one now. But there's new stuff being reissued. Everything new comes out on vinyl. Some of it doesn't even come out on CD. It comes out on vinyl only. It's the format right now that everyone is getting. Every genre is represented. Classical records are being pressed again. I mean, it's kind of overwhelming. You'll see a lot of things tagged that say 180 gram vinyl. It's a heavier quality. It gives you a little deeper groove and a better sound. And that's generally the standard of what constitutes quality vinyl. But if you get a lighter record than that, it's still going to sound good. You know, vinyl artwork is another thing that people really key in on when they're buying records. I pulled a couple records here. When artists want to do a gatefold, this is a fairly innocuous cover, but with the gatefold, you have one of the more famous things in the middle. And there's, you know, this is just fun to look at. There's a lot of detail there. It makes you hungry. You know, there's just a lot of fun with this record, which again, ZZ Top's Tres Hombres. But even in more modern records, not even the old school ones, you have something like this Juice WRLD album, and he passed away recently, so when his label put this together, they did this really gorgeous inner with, you know, lovely artwork and a real honorarium, a tribute to him in here. And this is just the kind of thing, you know, being able to look at this, it's a beautiful sentiment, you know, it's a lovely interior. It's just something you can't replicate digitally. We always have people asking if we get the Beatles' famous Butcher cover album, Yesterday and Today, where they did a cover with meat and pictures of babies, and then their label said, no, we're not putting this out, and they slapped a much more innocuous sticker over it to cover that up. Because it's the Beatles, you know, they pressed a lot of it, and it's probably the most famous collectible record, but it still fetches anywhere from $200 or $150. One in pristine condition can go easily over $1,000. Our website, you can also get anything. You can either pre-order things that are coming out soon, you can order stuff that's in stock, or there are things that are not in stock but that we can order for you if you place an order through the website, and then just there'll be a shop tab there and you can just dive right in and start ordering. Used stuff is not on the site. You kind of have to come down or give us a call for that, and you can call us anytime. But other than that, you know, you can find a lot of access on our site, and even more if you come down or just give us a holler at the store, and we'll be happy to help you.
Stay elevated by subscribing to the city's YouTube page for these stories and more. And stay tuned to our social media channels for more content. Don't miss our new episodes of Elevating Denver, premiering each month. Thanks for watching, Denver.